And we do have to do the COVID protocols as well.
I'm going to dump that on you before roll call.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, you are live, Mayor Hudson.
Okay, let's call to order the special meeting, December 20th, City Council. Before we do the roll call, I believe we have an announcement for COVID.
Thank you. Assembly Bill 361 suspends certain provisions of the Brown Act, allowing public meetings like this one to be held by teleconference to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. At this time, I will conduct the roll call, and I will ask the mayor to recognize me afterward to confirm certain matters for the record. Councilmember Armstrong?
Here.
Councilmember Perkins?
Here.
Councilmember Zafar?
Here.
Vice Mayor Veros?
Here.
And Mayor Hudson?
Here, we recognize the city clerk.
Thank you. Based on the responses to roll call, the record should reflect that all council members can hear the proceedings clearly. And if there are no objections, the record will further reflect that each council member believes, based on voice or facial recognition or otherwise, that the persons representing themselves to be council members are in fact council members.
We are.
Thank you. Seeing no objection, I will turn the meeting back over to the mayor with a reminder that all votes must be taken by roll call.
Okay, thank you. We have two items on the agenda for tonight. Both are city council appointments. And the first one we're going to do is item 2.1, which is the Contra Costa County Library Commission appointment. We have a staff report, I believe. You got that one too, Christina, or we're just, you want me to read it?
I can do this. It doesn't matter. I can
Okay, let's make it quite simple. We have one applicant to appoint, and that's Michael Masuda Nash. He is the only one that has applied, and it is to serve the city's alternate commissioner to the Contra Costa County Library Commission for a term to expire June 30th, 2024. Do we have any questions, comments, Mr. Perkins?
I'll move the appointment of Michael Masuda Nash to
I will
the
second.
Okay, we have a motion. Perkins, second. Zafar, any comments or questions? Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this matter? I'm looking, we have 12 attendees, but I don't see any hands. It's no different than the city council where you can raise your hand or dial *9 on the computer. And I don't see anyone in attendees or Michael. So we'll close the public comment. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Veros,
Yes.
and Mayor Hudson.
Yes, congratulations, Michael Masuda Nash. That is a 5-0 majority, unanimous, and we will move on to the highlight of the evening, which is 2.2. I believe it is, going through the thing. And do you have a staff report on this, or are we going to just jump right into it also?
Whatever you prefer.
Okay. Well, staff has a recommendation that the city council review the applications, conduct the interviews, and we're going to do it in a forum. I see that there are 12 attendees here. Let's see if we can kind of get an idea if everybody's here. It kind of looks like it. And we're here to appoint one candidate to fill the vacancy on Parks and Community Service, the commission, for a term to expire June 2023. The manner that we would do this is we will go and ask each of the candidate. I believe you have a random pick on who's first, second, third. There's 10, or are we down to 9? 9. We will ask that you take 2 minutes for an opening statement. The council will then each have one question that we will ask, and we ask that you answer it in a minute. Unless you're city council members, you should be able to do it in a minute, which case it'd probably take 5, but it's up to you. But we'd like to keep it down to a minute if possible. And then we will ask that each of you, in some kind of a reverse order that the city clerk has, do a 1-minute closing statement. So let's get the list and ask the candidates for this commission in the order that you have to take 2 minutes for the opening statement. You have the floor, Christina.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start promoting the 9 candidates into the meeting. I wanted them to all hear it and not get lost in translation as I was promoting them in. So just bear with me for a few moments while I get them promoted in.
Okay, as a last thing, if you may have noticed that I asked for public comment on the first one, I will wait till the end of the interviews to ask if there's any public that wants to comment on this. But We didn't have any for the first one. I doubt we'll have any for the second one, but I'm stalling. I don't see any hands, so we'll wait till you get in for panelists and wait until you give the order in which they will be speaking. Any comments from the council before we bring them in? Nope. No hands anywhere. That's the way to make these things work. Just turn off the computer and those little yellow hands when they pop up, everything goes smooth. We're just about halfway there.
I'm thrilled at the quality of the candidates we continue to get for our committees and commissions. It's going to make it hard to choose, but
Yeah.
I guarantee you, whoever we do end up with will do a good job. I can tell from the quality of the candidates. We've seen some of these people before, and I appreciate their perseverance. But once again, your chances are 1 in 9, so you have an 11% chance of getting there. An 89% chance of not getting there.
Well, the Perseverance Award is there's a real battle on who we're going to name it after, either Sabina or I, because I don't think I got on a committee till the 6th or 7th try.
There was a reason for that, Dave.
Yeah, well, there may be another reason. We're going to leave that one alone too. But the reality here is, Scott, you just nailed it. There's a lot of good candidates. It's what you're trying to do, what you see, what you focus on. And I think that's one of the reasons why you should focus on a 1-minute answer and try and be succinct, because you got to find that one thing that hits what people really want to see. Are you ready, Christina?
Not quite. I'm
Okay.
trying to promote Dinesh into the meeting. He needs to accept it, otherwise he can't
Okay.
get promoted. And then Michael Kreitz, if you can raise your hand at the bottom of your screen so I can thank you. So I can
There you go. Go ahead, Scott. You had something else?
I was just going to suggest the candidate don't waste time thanking us for this opportunity. You'll waste 10 seconds of a really good answer. So we know that you appreciate the opportunity. We've heard from many of you before. So take time to answer your question and don't spend a lot of time thanking us for the opportunity.
You just brought back the Night of the Arena methodology. Oh, geez. I want to thank you, you turkeys. No, that's the point. It's really difficult. Go ahead, Christina.
No, so I have all 9 candidates promoted into the meeting.
Okay, so who's first?
So the first person who will be opening will be David Owens.
Okay, David, you have the floor. We got a 2-minute timer on us. Tell us everything we need to know.
All right. Well, I definitely won't thank you now. But Dave Owens. So why the Parks Commission? One, I think all of us have an obligation to give back. You know, there is more to life than making money. I've been very blessed to have a good career through a lot of hard work and luck. But I think, you know, I want to have kids one day and I want to have them in San Ramon. And I want to have a voice in how this community is built out, the parks, the events that they have, the cultural activities. The second reason is that I love San Ramon. I've lived in the Bay Area since 2007, and this is the first place that felt like home. I bought my first home here. Well, my only home, but my first home. And I really made a concerted effort to try to get involved. I went to the Bill's Merit Breakfast. I did the San Ramon Government 101. I joined the Arts Advisory Committee. I've been there 4 years and now serve as chair. Joined the Arts Foundation during COVID to try to get more involved and try to spur more things. And I recently took the Planning Academy and learned, you know, one, that I'd rather do parks than planning, but also just learning about, you know, how you think about building out the community. You know, and I think the third reason is because, you know, this is the Parks and Community Services. It is all about building community, whether that's through parks, whether that's through events, whether that's through the arts, whether that's through our libraries or open space. And I want to be involved in these decisions. I want to be involved in, you know, can we acquire more open space with RENA standards? You know, the thing that this community is going to struggle with, and we're very blessed, we have 57 parks and we're fiscally responsible, but the state's going to keep wanting us to build more houses. In some ways that's good. In some ways we need to think much more about how do we, you know, improve our parks? How do we find other opportunities to build our open space? And that's why I really want this opportunity. So I will give the floor back. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, David. Next, Christina.
Dinesh.
Great. Hey, thank you. Thank you. And I won't thank everyone, like you said, Mayor Hudson. But I just, as many of you know, I've called San Ramon my home for 42 years, and my family, you know, moved here in 1979. I started off in Neil Armstrong and went to Cal High, and then went off to Berkeley. But you know, it's you know, I love the city so much, and when I was raised here, I mean, I you know, just had a, you know, awesome time, and really had a lot of great memories. And I moved back here to raise my family, and not too many people can really say they moved back to a place where they were raised, you know, where they were raised to raise their own family. Over the years, you know, again, you know, I have a passion. You know, I truly have a passion to serve. I've been involved with a lot of volunteer activities with youth for 12 years. Been on the PTA as a financial secretary and reflections chair for 2 years at Live Oak. And this past year, I served on the San Ramon Valley Unified School District Task Force. And now I'm serving on the Library Advisory Committee, and also board member for the San Ramon Valley Education Foundation. You know, as you know, I'm definitely very interested in continuing to serve in this community. I've enrolled in the San Ramon Valley Leadership Academy and completed the San Ramon Citizens Planning Academy this past fall. I've always wanted to get involved with the city, and now I have a lot more time. My kids are older, 2 are in college, the third one's a senior, and the youngest is a freshman now. And I've had a passion for serving and really want to give back. So, you know, I'd love to have, you know, I love having fun. And I look at parks and community as that intersection of fun and improving the quality of life. And I really would be honored to be able to serve as a parks commissioner and be able to have a positive impact on our city in this role. Thank you.
Thank you, Dinesh. Next.
Michael?
Hi, I'm Michael Kreitz, and I've been in the Bay Area about 20 years and been trying to get to San Ramon for quite a while with my wife. We were fortunate enough to move here this year, and we love the open space areas. And I just wanted to be able to have an opportunity to help make decisions or help give my input on ways to improve the parks and the open space areas, the way to connect areas together. I've been a contractor for many years, and my kids are grown up, but now that I do have more free time, I would like to be able to give some of it back as well and help however I can. I'm going to be in San Ramon probably the rest of my life. We love San Ramon. We've tried for several years to move here. We finally were fortunate enough to buy a house in San Ramon, and looking forward to living my life here and helping however I can.
Thank you, Michael.
I wasn't prepared to for opening statements. I don't have a whole lot more.
No, Michael, fine, trust me. We were going to do a minute. So you were, we're going to give you guys a break for a minute. I don't see Sabina's face up here, but I know she knows what I'm talking about. We go to these, and Dinesh, definitely, you know, we go to these forums and you think you got 3 minutes and they go, okay, your opening statement's 1 minute. It's like, okay, you're done. So no, that's fine. Okay, who's next, Christina?
Venkata?
Hi. Yeah, sorry, I'm actually in a shuttle right now, so
Oh, you just froze.
I'm sorry about that. Actually, I think my internet will be unstable, but I'll try my best. I see my fellow classmates from Planning Academy recently, and very well qualified as well. So I want to be here. I lived in San Ramon for 13 years in the Gale Ranch area. Then I moved to the South San Ramon recently, 6 months back. I do see an actually imbalance in the park system actually. So we and trails basically. So you see quite a good trails in the newer part of San Ramon that was built recently compared to the older San Ramon. So, but there are opportunities to improve in the west side, especially the Henry Ranch, the park, actually the designated park area that's not built yet, and then the trails be improved. So I want to have my input in improving the trails and park system in the South San Ramon part, as well as like to make it balanced in the entire San Ramon. So that's the reason like why I want to come forward for serving the San Ramon. So in any capacity that I can, so I'll be more than happy to participate. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Oh, thank you. Okay, Christina, who's next?
Ravneet.
All right. Hey, all, good to see everybody again. I will thank you just because when you live in the South for 20 years, you always say thank you. So I
Time's
just want
up.
to give you guys a brief a brief background. Again, I was a city attorney in Macon for a number of years. I'm familiar with boards and advisory committees and local laws, governing boards, all of that. I served as a parks commissioner in Georgia for our local county. I volunteer with 4 different PTA associations because I have 4 children, including a 5-year-old. So park spaces and programming is very near and dear to my heart. I moved to San Ramon when I was 8 years old in 1984, and the memories that I have growing up here, going to local parks, experiencing, outdoor life was something that I always treasured, and I moved my family back here during the pandemic. In a nutshell, honestly, parks are my jam. I volunteer as a coach for soccer, and I love being out on the fields. I love seeing the kids. I love seeing how they interact with their natural spaces and how they grow as individuals, both physically and mentally. And I just think that parks and community services are the backbone of our community. And no matter what else we do, as long as we can provide that space, both for children, adults, senior citizens, all of our citizens, we'll be doing something right. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravneet. Next, Christina.
Steve.
Thank you, Christina. A lot of my friends have said, hey, why are you applying for parks? And I see parks as a key department that connects our city and really builds our community. And for me, the reason I want to be on parks and been living in San Ramon for 23 years is I still believe that we need to keep connecting our diverse community and some of the programs we offer in the Parks Commission to obviously working with the seniors, some of the teen council, all that connects our city. And I think the more we can connect our city through the parks, I think the people feel better about paying taxes in San Ramon, take a better pride in our city. And I want to continue to be part of that. I think our Parks Commission has done a great job in doing connectivity with our people, with our community, and creating a sense of community, but I want to help us do more. I know Dave mentioned earlier with some challenges coming up with RENA and how we manage through that to make sure as we continue to meet those goals that we're providing a connection with all our new residents coming up and make sure parks play a major role as we have to expand out to meet some of the RENA numbers. And lastly, a lot of my experiences I've had through whether it's San Ramon Soccer or it's site councils, working some of the financials and doing some of the strategies look around the corners, I feel that I can continue to help the Parks Commission and the Park Committee look and set strategies to meet future goals and needs for our citizens. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Next.
Sean.
Yeah, Sean Collins. It's good to be back again. 3rd time's the charm here. So I'm going to take a little sidetrack here. I'll thank Steve and Ravneet for volunteering their time with San Ramon FC this past year. I know Ravneet had a tough team. Anyways, yeah, grew up here in San Ramon. I work here since the last interview. My wife and I got married, so that was a big step. Continue to be rooted in the community through teaching. San Ramon FC, I'm the recreation program director. Kind of on a larger scale, I'm the Cape Bird rep. That's the California Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance. I'm the Region 16 representative there. Completed the San Ramon Valley Unified School District Leadership Development Program last year, and previous mayor Bill Clarkson kind of got me set up with the Leadership San Ramon Valley for this year. So I've met a lot of these candidates here, and we've continued to grow together in that program. Ultimately, I want to be involved the best way I can. I want to continue to grow and continue to understand how these roles serve the community and how I can continue to become a leader, at not only this level, but continue to move on. And this for me is a step in the right direction and something that I love doing. I'm involved in a lot. even back to my undergrad in recreation management, so this is my path and I truly enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Next.
Terry,
Hi, good evening, council members. Terry Caney. I've lived in this community for the better part of 20 years. I've raised, my wife and I have raised our two kids here. They're 23 and 20. They went through Twin Creeks, Quail Run, Iron Horse, Cal High. I worked for 20 years as the San Ramon Valley Unified School District Communications and Community Relations Director. And I think, what I would bring to the commission would be a body of work that has really been expansive in this community. And I'll just name a few. I've worked in partnership with the city on programs like Traffics, Safe Routes to School, CERT, Heart Safe. Been on the board of the San Ramon Valley Education Foundation for more than 20 years. Currently serve on the board of directors for the San Ramon Chamber of Commerce. I'm on the Economic Development Advisory Committee, and I'm currently the president of the San Ramon Rotary Club. I was on Leadership San Ramon Valley I was on the board there for more than 15 years, the Museum of the San Ramon Valley and the San Ramon Valley YMCA board. But of all these things, I think Parks and Programs is probably nearest and dearest to my heart. I love this community. I want to do what I can to help preserve our quality of life. I know we have challenges, changing demographics, changing issues when it comes to land use. And I want to help to adapt to these changes, but I think mostly I care about kids. And I truly believe in my heart that the communities that take care of their young people are vibrant communities. And I'm going to do what I can to make sure that we preserve this community that has taken me and my family in, and I want to continue to give back and help preserve our quality of life. So thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Next.
Edward,
Thank you, Christina, and good afternoon, council members. I am Ed Carranza, and I recently retired last December. This is my 12th month of retirement after 46 years, either in the private industry or in the last 22 and a half years at the Federal Transit Administration. I was a deputy regional administrator there. My education, similar to Council Member Armstrong, is a civil engineer. I'm licensed here in the state of California as a PE. I've been living here since 1989, still in the same house. My two daughters went to Cal High, and we just enjoy this town. This city has really grown. Yes, it was a bedroom community. Now, as we all know, as you alluded to, Mayor, that we need to address the general plan, the RENA numbers, yes, but we can never lose sight of the 55 miles of bicycle paths, or the 57 parks that are currently in San Ramon. And, at least per the data that I've researched in your website, and I really feel that this is a crossroads to go ahead and advance and be proactive, think out of the box as we march forward. And that's where I'm hoping I can go ahead, if selected. I know I'm in great company here with the 8 other candidates, but certainly I look forward to participating in the Parks and Community Services. Right now I am as a committee member of the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee. So I've enjoyed that for the last half year. And I certainly go ahead and I look forward to your interview questions. So thank you.
Thank you. Have we gone through 15 already, or do we have more, Christina?
no, so that was the last of the opening statements, and then we'll go into the questions.
Holy mackerel, I think we're in trouble. We should have done 1 minute. We may actually get home on time. You guys are so quick, I forgot where I put my question. I'll start it off for us. I'll ask the first question, and then we're going to have some time, 1 minute, hopefully. The way you guys are going, it'll probably be 30 seconds. I'll ask the first question. Scott Perkins will be the next one, Sabina, then Mark, and then Sridhar will finish us off. And each person will have, like I said, I hope 1 minute to give their answer. Programs are an important programs or events, both, are an important part of the character and image desired by the city of San Ramon. Do you have a favorite program or event and or a program that you would like improved? What is our order, Christina?
We're going to start it off with Sean.
Sean, do you need me to repeat it? Okay, I assume that was yes because you're muted. Programs and events are an important part of the character and image desired by the city of San Ramon. Do you have a favorite event or program and or a program you would like improved?
Yeah, so first of all, as a kid growing up, there was always the Art and Wind Festival that we would come to, right? That was a huge community event. I have 3 brothers, so the 3 of us running wild at Central Park was a scene. Also, growing up, it was the fireworks on 4th of July. So between the 2 of those were huge. And obviously something that, as I get into, now being married and having kids, those are things that I would like to be able to bring my kids to. In terms of improvement, we always look at some of the ADA things and how can we be better. So signage and the newer forms of parks that are accessible. Obviously, Athens Downs was one of the first in the area, right? That was accessible, but even that's kind of almost outdated now in what's come about. So they're not really improvements. They're just things that we can enhance, right? Can we enhance the Iron Horse Trail? We lost the Golden State, but can we do something similar to the Story Walk in making that accessible for roller skating? I'll stop there because I'm already over time.
Thank you. Next.
Terry.
Terry?
Yeah, I would say definitely the Art and Wind Festival. Our Rotary Club has always been involved, from either providing a hot dog booth or selling beer at the Wind Fest. We use it as a fundraiser, but it's also a huge community builder. It really is an anchor for our community. I love it. Really, also, I love the concert series that we put on, both indoors and outdoors. I think that the Doherty Valley Theater is a classic example of a joint use agreement that works. I mean, we have something special in this community. What we have with our joint use parks and several of our gymnasiums and theaters is just so unique. We use it to their fullest capacity and capabilities, and I love all of the events that we put on, and I think that's really kind of what our Parks Department, that is where they truly shine.
Thank you, Terry. Next.
Ed.
Thank you, Christina. And yes, the Arts and Winds Festival, I believe here, since I've been here, is one of the staples of San Ramon. It's so great. It's safe, it's comfortable, it's windy at times and cool at times, you never know, but certainly it is a well put on program that certainly has great momentum, and that certainly can go ahead and I tell you, that is a dynamite activity that the city has. So certainly that's one to also enhance, but also just the bicycles and the city walk, and to provide connectivity to the mixed use of bicycles and pedestrian accesses, and doing the things like what with the overpass in Bollinger Canyon for Iron Horse Trail, a huge project, it's a big project that CCTA is helping. And let me tell you, it's so encouraging and refreshing to see, and to me, enhancing and the connectivity of bicycles and walkability is a priority. Thank you.
Next.
Dave.
What?
I think she's talking to me. So thank you for the question. So, there's many that you could pick. For me, I'm just going to say the concert series for now, because that's on my mind. July 4th felt like life was back to normal again. And of course, it's not totally back to normal, but it was amazing. And I walked out there and I was like, I love this community. And this is everything that is San Ramon to me. I also love the Bollywood event. I was selling drinks there for the Arts Foundation on that day. and just seeing how much the city has changed, but yet we're still all together, which for me is what all this Parks and Community Service is about. We're all more, alike than we're different. So that's the event that comes to mind for me. In terms of what I'd like to see different, I mean, I would just love to continue trying to use Central Park for, different things and events and live events. With the Arts Foundation, I've always talked about Shakespeare in the park, but with the growing Indian population, we should do Kalidasa in the park or something like that. There's just many opportunities that we can do with Central Park and our parks. Thank you. Not a lot of time.
Thank you.
Dinesh.
Hey, thanks. I'm trying to think through this, and there's, first of all, I want to say Santa Ramon is so fortunate that we have, how we put so many programs together, and we have so many things that we can participate in. One of my favorites growing up was, the fireworks. I have to say, just, getting together with friends on 4th of July and being able to congregate there. And I remember one summer, we were sitting on the grass and sprinklers came on and we were running to go somewhere else. But just remember those fun times. But I would say recently, there's so many, it's hard to choose one, but I really enjoyed the Cultural Arts Festival that we had recently. And I think that's great, especially with seeing our diverse population and really trying to embrace our various cultures that we have here. I just thought that was an amazing event, and really appreciated that, we're willing to put something like that on. If there's something that I would change, it's just, again, it's really just trying to get more people included and trying to work with doing things from a multi-generational perspective. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Mike.
Yes, I do love the Iron Horse Trail. I know it's not an event, but it's almost a daily event for me and my wife. Love walking the trail, riding the trail. You meet all sorts of different people from the community. It's really my favorite part of San Ramon. I know there's a lot more than just the Iron Horse Trail. Also, I used to run a lot of 10Ks, 5Ks, not lately, but those are great events to get people together, from young kids to older people. Anybody can go to those events, and I think that's a great event that can be held multiple times during the year. And it's also can be a fundraiser as well. So those are some of my favorite things, and there's much more in San Ramon, and it's good to hear everybody's input on that, but those are my favorites.
Thank you. Next.
Venkata.
Hi. So yeah, many of them actually already mentioned about Art and Film Festival. So I'll go with the forest forms. The activities there are pretty interesting. Like, it's like connecting the kids to the olden times. Actually, those are very, very helpful to see how things were in the olden days, like the barn and the display out there, the activities that staff put together. Those are very, 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 very educational. And the things that I would like to improve, during the holiday season, like Christmas, like, in the Chevron area, they used to keep this big tree, and then there used to be like music festival, and then like grand opening, and then like, once we have the city hall, for some reason, like, that activity got split between, keeping the tree inside the city hall, and then like, it's not accessible, or actually at least it didn't feel like it was not quite the same. So probably that's one thing that I would like to see improve. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Ravneet.
For events, I absolutely love Culture in the Community and the Wind and Art Festival. For programs, you cannot beat the San Ramon Summer Camp. That is such a great program for kids all over the city to interact with each other, to get to know each other. We have neighborhoods that have become very segregated in terms of ethnicity and socioeconomic status. And so to have the kids all come together and communicate and learn from each other, I think is just fabulous. Along those same lines, if we were to sponsor a new program, I would love to see the Parks and Rec Services partner with local HOAs and maybe do something in our smaller parks just to foster more sense of community and neighborhoodship amongst individuals in their local parks, just to get them out of the house and get to know your neighbor a little bit. But other than that, love the parks, so love the
Thank you.
programs.
Next.
Steve?
Thank you. Well, I think all our programs are great. The one program that really resonated to me this year was our senior holiday boutique for a number of reasons. One, it's the first time I've ever been to it this year, but the interaction we had with that really important part of our community and all the creative art gifts that they made, or holiday gifts they made for that event. But more importantly, what I liked about it, as I dug deeper into the event, was the outreach that it provides. All the money that's raised through that goes on to Meals on Wheels to help other programs we have within this community, and I'm very passionate about Meals on Wheels. So one thing I think I would do for all our events is, how do we communicate our events better? I mean, how do we leverage our emails? How do we leverage our communication through written and publications to get people to attend more of the events and show that it's safe, because it gets people out into the community.
Thank you. Scott, your question. I believe that's all of them. Am I correct, Christina?
You're correct, yes.
Okay, and there'll be a different order on this question. Scott, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'm sure that most of you have become familiar with the Parks and Community Services, the whole master plan. The title's much longer than that. The master plan. There are 4 themes or guiding principles: interconnected, conservation of, and connection to nature. Number 3 is inclusive. Number 4 is balance, quality, and quantity. Which one do you feel needs more emphasis, and how would you promote that theme?
Who's going to be the lucky first one on that one?
The first one is Steve.
So, Steve, I'm gonna do everybody the favor. I'm gonna repeat it, and then hopefully everybody will kind of catch on from there.
Okay, that's a tough one to start off.
Right, I appreciate it. Thanks.
There are 4 themes. If you've become familiar with the master plan, there are 4 themes. 1, interconnected. 2, conservation of and connection to nature. 3, inclusive. And 4, balance, quality, and quantity. Which one do you feel needs more emphasis, and how would you promote that theme?
Thanks, Scott. Thanks for bringing it again too. So, hey, what I would say is the one that resonates the most to me is the inclusive, and the reason why it resonates the most to me would be it talks a little bit about what I talked earlier about connectivity to our community. I mean, the reason why we do a great job is we got to build more community. We have more programs that Mayor Hudson just talked about. Also, it also talks about taking care of our facilities and making sure we have the facilities in place that meet not only our younger citizens, but our older citizens. So it makes everyone inclusive, and it also provides diversity. What I would do different, or make it, I think, make it more pop a little bit more, is how, as we take a look at the master plan, which you chatted about, and as we do renewal on the master plan, especially when we look at inclusivity, how do we get more of the diversity of our community involved, talking about how we make the Parks Commission more inclusive. So are there things that we're not doing? Let's think about pickleball. We've heard a lot about cricket, but are there events that we could be doing as a community to get more people involved, more people out of the house? That's what I do different. Sorry. Thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Happy to go first, by the way. Thank you.
John?
Yeah. So I have my notes from my last one, and I was big last time on 3 points. So balance, quality, and quantity was what I went with last time, and I'm going to stick to it. Point number 1 there was positive rec experiences are huge, right? So we do need to have quality. Planning for the future is also essential, right? We have a diversifying and aging population we need to make sure we're ready for. And we also need adequate financial and operational methods to maintain and renew the facilities and equipment, along with quality programming, as well as customer service. So balancing the quality and quantity.
Thank you. Next.
Harry,
I would say a combination of two, if I can, Scott, if you don't mind. I'm going to say interconnected and inclusive, because I think they go hand in hand. I agree with what a few others have said already, that, you know, we have some challenges. We have some changing demographics in our community, which is testimony to why our community is so great. People don't want to leave. But we also have some changing landscape in regards to land use. I mean, as we have more high density housing, it's becoming more and more of kind of an urban feel, and the better that we're able to adapt to that, I think the better we're going to be able to position ourselves in these areas, being more inclusive, making sure that our community is feeling connected to not only our parks, but our programs and our services. And particularly as we come out of COVID, it just adds to it. It's even more challenging. So we're up for the challenge. I truly believe it. And yeah, and I want to be that person who can help get us there.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you. Next.
Ed,
Thank you, Christina. Yes, I can't agree more with several there, but interconnectivity. I mean, when you connect these trails and these bicycle paths and the walking paths, and with the other master programs and the walking district and the city walk, and that type of emphasis and just the global view of it is just so important to have them connected. I mean, right now, and safe. Right now, even as being a member of the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee, one of our goals for 2022 is to look at promoting the connections of some trails in back of the senior center. So I tell you, it's just, it's very healthy. It's looking at advance, looking forward, and you got to think out of the box, but at the same time, never lose sight of the actual goal of being safe. And so that to me would be a very prominent criteria as we march forward, Scott.
Great, thanks.
Dave,
The other Dave.
yes.
You're Mayor Hudson, I'm Dave, but thank you, Councilmember Perkins. You know, I don't necessarily think of the principles as singular. I really think you need to look at them holistically, and like any issue you're looking at, do they hit the fore? That said, for the sake of the exercise, I'll say inclusivity. We have a growing number of seniors, 65 to 79-year-olds have doubled in the last 10 years. So you need to make sure that paths are accessible. For example, it's not really that easy to get from Iron Horse Trail over to City Center if you're doing that. I've tried doing it with my bike. It's pretty hard. You know, we become more multicultural. So I think that may mean, you know, what kind of events can we do? Every day I walk past Pine Valley Middle School, well, at least on the weekends with my dog, people are using the baseball diamonds as cricket courts. So I think that's something you need to look at. Can we create cricket courts? Can we adapt what we have? You know, and City Walk, we need to make sure that's accessible, that we have proper signage. You know, just because it's there doesn't mean that people will know it's there. So I think we should try to look at how our community is adapting and do so with our programs and our parks. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Dinesh,
Yeah, thank you. You know, they're all there's interesting, and you know, but I would pick inclusivity, and it's really, again, bringing people together and making sure folks are feeling included in our community. You know, and I think that's really the number one thing for me. Our demographics are evolving. I mean, when I came here in 1979 to where we are today, I mean, completely different shift in our demographics. But I think it's really important with inclusivity to bring our community together, especially like our seniors. We have our youth. You know, it's important. I mean, there's so many generational folks, you know, that we have in our community, and I think it's important to make sure that we really try to make sure that, you know, that the parks and all that are conducive to different, you know, generations in a sense. But I'd also, just one more thing on how to make it better. I would ask, you know, really ask the community. I would get out there and try to find out what is it that, you know, get feedback from them, from the various demographics that we have in Center Mount. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just want to point out that the reason I'm looking away is I'm writing notes that are on a stand to my right. So I'm not ignoring you. I'm just writing notes.
Oh, that's okay. You know, that's what I thought. I figured, you know, that, or you're watching the football game. I'm just kidding.
There's a football. Who's next, Christina?
Mike?
Yeah, I think all four of the guiding principles are important. The interconnected is probably the biggest one for me to get all the parks connected together, whether it's walking and biking. One way I think it could help, I know signage is great, but also, simple maps that show, while you're on the trail, people can see where other parks might be and they might not know about them. And, just something simple, but clear in a map type of form. And, that helps get people to interconnect and connect all the parks together as much as you can. I'm a little new to this town, but I love the town, and that's what I see that brings people together. And the interconnected one is the one I have to go with out of the four principles on the plan.
Thank you. Next.
Venkata?
Thank you. As many have spoken earlier, actually, I go with interconnected as well, because it's one thing that actually embodies many other inclusivity or connecting to the nature or balance. So right now, actually, we do have certain plans already to connect the parks, and then from the newer part of San Ramon and then the older part of San Ramon. So I'd like to see that expanded, and then try to see the connection to the open spaces. So that actually indeed brings other aspects that we are looking for, connecting to the nature and conservation. And like many people, many newer parks, even the high dense areas that we are building, actually, they have connectivity that we create for the city. That's all from my side.
Thank you. I believe Ravneet's last on this one, Christina.
Yes.
Ravneet?
Okay, I think all four are wonderful. I think that we're doing a great job on being interconnected. I've seen the city walk plans and talk about the lake loop and how we're going to connect to Iron Horse. I love that. I think we're doing a great job being inclusive, as evidenced by our recent program, Culture in the Community. I see lots of diverse programming in general, so I think we're doing A-okay there. In terms of conservation in nature, connection to nature, I think that all the trails, the park trails that we have, provide ample opportunity, as well as some of the hiking programs. So I think we're doing a great job of paying attention to all three of those. In terms of balance and quantity, that's where I would concentrate my efforts. We are, as Ed had mentioned, at a crossroads. We're looking at 5,000 new homes at the very least. How are we going to balance what we have, what we need, with the existing quantity and quality? And I think going forward, that's one of the biggest challenges we're going to face. Thank you.
Thank you. Sabina, you have the floor. Your question.
Thank you. One, it's really great to see all of you. This is, again, going to be one of those hard decisions. I just want to say thank you for your persistence and coming to these interviews, and just all of you guys are amazing candidates. So I think a couple of questions that I had, maybe the first one, the mayor already asked, and I think I got the answer. So I'll go with my second question, which I thought about is, so what is your vision for creating more inclusive park facilities that will serve different abilities, age groups, and demographics?
Good. Okay, Christina, who drew the lucky first one on this? Steve? No. Who is it? We can't do that to you, Steve. Who's first?
Venkata?
Okay.
And let me know if you want me to repeat the question.
I think, okay, let me rephrase it actually. So you said, the vision for our parks, for inclusivity, for supporting more age groups, abilities, and demographics. Am I right?
Correct.
Okay, great. Yeah, as we see, we have much, we have to balance the different cultures that are actually emerging in our city. So unlike categorizing some of the programs like will help them actually to bring outside and like mingle with other communities, and also making the entire city sensitive to different cultures. So that will actually help in bringing more inclusive, developing more inclusive city actually. So as I think some of the discussions came up earlier, how about having a Bollywood night, or those are the different aspects, or actually different games like different cultures play, cricket and stuff so those are the aspects, like how can we imagine our facilities to serve different communities. That's my vision to have more, for vision for all these age groups, and then bringing different cultures, abilities to our parks. So I hope at least I answered some part of your question.
Thank you.
That's from my side. Yeah, thanks.
Being first is not easy. Who's next, Christina?
Ravneet.
Ravneet?
Just to clarify, are you asking for a vision of parks or programming, or both?
So park facilities, how do you see a park that will serve different abilities, will serve different age groups and different demographics, right?
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I was answering properly.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
So one of the things is we know that parks are used by everybody, young kids, young adults, older adults, seniors, all the age groups. They're used by walkers, they're used by bicyclists, they're used by runners and joggers, they're used by people who are using walkers. So first, in terms of accessibility, I would love to see a park where we have pathways that actually maybe have speed limits or delineated areas. Bike riding is okay here. Tricycle riding is okay. This is our slow lane. Please don't jog or run in this area. I think that would be helpful for all age groups. Second, I would love to see some outdoor seating areas that are set up in conversational sets. So you might have 4 individual chairs or 5 individual chairs and a small bench so that people can sit and look and talk to each other in a meaningful manner. Last, I would love to see a little less grass just because of the climatic impact of it. Thank you.
Oh, lawn. Okay. Christina, what's next?
Steve.
Sorry about that. So thanks to Bina for the question, by the way. As we take a look at the parks of the future, I really think, first of all, we need what I would do is how does it connect with adult walking groups? I think connectivity is really important. And then in that park, we know that shade's important. We know that seating's important, but also how are we serving the needs of the future, whether it's cricket or pickleball? And then also how are we taking a look at making sure that we put infrastructure in there that we can afford now and the future, because we got to make sure that we can continue to pay for it and have the right maintenance of it. And then take a look at walking trails, like everyone has said, and also that we're providing accessibility from standpoint as we look at some of our older systems. We also need to take a look at some of our younger systems, like we have the zip line up at Rancho. That's been a big hit. And how do we take some things that are really working in parks that, like this little zip line, and reapply it to those parks so we're meeting the needs for everybody.
Thank you. Next.
Sean.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to stick with my 3 points here. So first one is shade, both for heat and rain. My school, as a PE teacher, we don't have any of the shade structures, and we learned even more being outside, whether it's hot or cold or rainy, especially for young and old, is essential. Tech apps such as the outer spatial that we currently have, those can be incorporated. A lot of us, around kids, we understand Pokemon Go. They check in at different spots, and these are things that we can gamify just going to the park and almost reward in a way. And finally, continue to modernize. This is through obviously electric. This is continuing with being a leader in ADA in our park facilities, such as Athen Downs, for example, and also seating right along the trail at parks. we got to be able to sit, and we need to be able to sit close to where people are gathering, whether it's the playground or fields. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Terry,
Yeah, thanks for the question, Sabina. I think it's a really good one. I'm a believer that if you build it, they will come. And if we have a master plan, then we should stay true to it. And if that master plan really engages the community in ways in which we have special interest and community groups that are truly involved in the planning and the visioning of it, then I think it can't go wrong. Classic example, I think, is the skate park that was built decades ago, right? We saw a need. We had input from the community. There were some who said, you know, this is just a passing fad. I think the people who really were the decision makers kind of saw beyond that and said, no, we need a place where our kids can gather and congregate in healthy and productive ways. And the skate park was born. And, you know, we've certainly had some issues, but it's been a terrific asset to our community. I love the vision of the walking district. I think it's a way for us to connect people together. And I think what we can do is maybe have stations that sort of signify the different areas and demographics of our community that sort of make people feel connected to that.
Thank you. Next.
Ed,
Thank you, Christina. And yes, this is a very good question. I think you never can be short of having enough outreach. And part of that outreach is to see not only what the past surveys have been regarding parks and how the residents of San Ramon feel about them and suggestions, but also having pulse surveys to go ahead on a periodic basis, just maybe 4 or 5 questions to get a feel and stay on top of the moving targets sometimes with the parks. We understand that, what is it, 6.5 acres, I believe, is the rule of thumb for every 1,000 residents of parks that we try to meet a goal to. That is very aggressive. So interconnectivity, safety, once again, and just going ahead and making sure that we are good listeners to go ahead and understand from the residents, what do they see, so that we can help in our decision making. And of course, we as a commissioner would be making recommendations to the city council on that. So that would be my take. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Dinesh, Mike, or Dave?
it's Dave.
Dave, you're up.
Thank you, council members of FAR. So I think we're very lucky. We have 57 parks, and they're all, you know, in good condition. You know, Crow Canyon Gardens, which is going to be in good condition. But, you know, for me, what I view parks as is a gathering place. And for me, I think that means maybe we look at different events. We could maybe use Central Park for Diwali, Lunar New Year, things of that nature. I would like to see our community participate. I'm thinking of the Scarecrow project and how interesting that was, or the Upcycle Your Heart project that my committee approved. You know, and I think with this, you need to look at how are people getting there? Are they connected? Is it easy to find? Is it easy to access? For example, Lake Annabelle, it's a great place to take the dogs. I was there a lot during COVID. My neighbor who's been here for 30 years didn't know about it. So you need to do a good job of making sure people know where it's at so they can get to these gathering places. And I think lastly, you just want to listen to the community and like, what are they driving? What are they asking for? How is our community changing so that it's a gathering place for everyone? Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Dinesh,
Yeah, hey, thank you. Thanks again for the question. You know, I mean, we have, first I would, before I kind of decide or figure out kind of which direction I want to go, I would really want to reach out to the community, see what is it that they're looking for, what is it that they want. And I mean, we do have a multi-generational community here, very diverse folks, but what I'd look and try to do and ways on, again, you know, we definitely got to make sure we're compliant with ADA. But, you know, what I would also want to look and see is maybe try to see how we can create different parks. And we're doing that with, you know, where they have themes there, and then they're also like functional for various ages. You know, some parks, you know, you have bocce ball courts, other parks you have like a cricket, you know, field, other ones you have baseball. And so being able to do those types of different themes, but I think are very important to really address all different ages. In some places you go to the park and you can play, you know, you can play chess. I mean, it's you know, they have the tables out there. I also think it's important to really create more exercise and workout stations that are conducive for all ages and make the walking paths, you know, also accessible and easy to use for you know, all ages as well. But again, those are the things that I would promote and would love to support.
Thank you, Dinesh. It's Mike last, and then Mark, it'll be your question. Mike?
Thanks. Yeah, it's funny. I had a lot of ideas and visions for the parks, and I read the master plan, and so many things I saw on there were ideas I was already thinking about with shade and seating, the overcrosses, overpasses, and just things like that. That is the vision. I think it comes down to one of the other candidates mentioned outreach. And other. I think Dave mentioned he had a neighbor that for 30 years he didn't know there was something to go look at right around the corner. There's so much here in this town, and I think outreach and making people aware, of what we do have to offer, and the vision is already there. The master plan. I mean, you guys have done a great job with the surveys. The city residents have. There's been surveys that tell what people want, and I think we just have to follow that.
Good, thank you. Mark Armstrong has the next question for you. We're past the halfway point for all you guys. Take a breath, a cup of coffee, whatever it takes. And Mark, where are you on my pictures
right
here? What is your question?
Right here.
There you go.
The thing about going forth is that a lot of the answers that I was expecting in my question have already come out. So I'm going to rephrase mine a little bit, but it'll be similar to what you've heard already. So just maybe dive into a little more specificity. So here's my question. What are some park amenities or features that you think are important in two areas for our teens and our seniors?
Who's first, Christina?
Mike.
Mike, you're up again.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, teens, I think, the biggest thing is keeping them out of trouble and giving them something to do. And sports is a great outlet for any kid. So the more sports activities, the more, just different types of sports activities for teens. And as far as seniors go, it does get hot in the summer. They do need the shade. I think that's real important in the areas to sit down. And of course, restroom facilities. I'm getting older, and I know, if I go too far from home and I can't find a bathroom, I mean, I could be in trouble too. So I think those are some important amenities that I would recommend or would like to see.
Thank you, Mike. Next
is Venkata, but it looks like we lost him. So I'll continue on to the next, and then if he logs back in, we can put him on the end.
Okay.
So Ravneet.
So I'm going to go back to my own experience as a teen in San Ramon and as a mother of 3 teens. Kids love play structures. I can't tell you the number of times I've seen my teens and other teens go out and play on the swing sets and play on the play structures that we have currently that are meant for ages 5 to 12. I'm not sure there are play structures that are geared toward teens, but I can guarantee that if there are play structures, teens will use them. And it's a fabulous outlet. Not every teen, in my own experience, has the ability or inclination to be athletic. And they're just not interested in playing sports for whatever reason. And so giving them an outlet where they can just play, just engage in free play is fantastic. For seniors, shade and seating and having the restrooms, I think, is a very vital function. And I think that those would really satisfy a lot of our needs for our community.
Thank you, Ravneet. Who's next?
Steve.
Thank you, Mark. And it's interesting. It's a very interesting question as I think about it. First, I'll address the seniors and then the teens. If we take a look at seniors, I think some of the amenities, well, first of all, we always go to the master plan and see what the master plan has said and has outlined. Some things I've taken away, obviously we've talked about shade, but how do we provide classes within the parks for some of our seniors? And if we can, do it virtually also, so we can have the class and have it filmed so it can be virtually, so they all can participate, not just in the parks but at home. And then also things like horseshoe, bocce, and and more walking for the seniors with shade. Teens is a very interesting one. I mean, I had 3 teens as we went through, because we said for our younger citizens, we always say, hey, we have structures, but teens, I think we need to have, you know, more activities, whether it be basketball or more classes or things that have gathering from an education standpoint. So it could be a structure where they could come and learn different things that were gathered.
Thank you. Next.
Sean,
Yeah, so I actually see these 2 user groups as being a lot more similar than we may think. So both user groups need seating and shade. Both user groups need technology in different ways to get those teens and a lot of our older citizens out. We need Wi-Fi accessibility. Goes back to that gamification. Being able to use your phone while you're at the park is huge. Again, like Pokemon, think Pokemon Go, right? Checking in, getting rewarded, you know, those virtual options. And finally, access to restrooms and to water bottle fill-up stations. Everyone brings their water bottle with them, being able to fill it up and know that it's clean, drinkable water that a dog hasn't gotten its nose into, right? Those are huge. Thank you.
Who's next?
Terry,
Thank you. Sometimes I feel like our kids are too overstructured, that what we provide for them are opportunities that kind of pigeonhole them. I think our facilities need to be multi-purposed. They need to be multifunctional. They need to be kind of open-ended in ways that we can repurpose depending on sort of what people are enjoying. When it comes to young people, you know, their biggest need is to feel like they belong, like they're accepted. So our facilities need to reflect that. I think for our seniors, the walking district, I'll reiterate that. I think it's a wonderful concept. I'd love to see more dog parks. And I'd love to see more kind of larger facilities, whether it's, well, swimming pools for sure. But also I think the gym at Iron Horse is a classic example. The same at Pine Valley. It shows how we were as a community able to be creative with our joint use agreements and yet have a large enough facility that can really be repurposed for different needs.
Thank you. Next.
Ed,
Ed.
Thank you. And yes, as far as parks and any improvements or any thoughts toward that end, I can't say enough, at least starting with the senior side, accessibility. It's just accessibility is a big factor, especially when you get to the elderly. And being a member, once again, of the Senior Citizens Advisory Group, that's one of the things that we look at when we talk with our folks over there in the Senior Center. And it just, that's one of the #1 items that come on out, as well as benches, as well as the restrooms. It doesn't mean that every park needs a restroom, but certainly we got to keep that in mind. Are they there? Are they somewhere by there? With trailblazers. I think trailblazers is very important because not everybody lives right in the same neighborhood. They might be visiting and then you go for a walk, especially with the teens too. I mean, the teens certainly benches, shade. Yes, that is very, very, very nice amenity that any park should go ahead and be considered. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Next.
Dave.
Dave.
Thank you,
And you want to try Venkata again after Dave to see if he's there or finish with Dinesh? Okay, go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries, Mayor Hudson. So Councilmember Armstrong, you know, it's interesting. I think both these groups are sort of at high risk for depression. I was just trying to think of how they're kind of closely linked. These groups need community as well. I think for teens, sports and arts are a really great way, giving activities for that. But teens, though, I'm also thinking of my friends' kids, and all they do is play video games and YouTube. But I think developing technology with the city would be a great step. Something like the Quartz app. I know that's maybe not what teens find cool, but just giving the technology for them, I think, would be a good step within the community. You know, for seniors, I think maybe that's a long way away for me, but by the time City Walk's done, I'll probably be a senior. And, you know, I think it's important to have something like bocce ball. I think it's important to have accessibility. So there's concrete paths, you know, when you go to these parks and they can easily get to them. You need to make sure that there's shade because it gets over 100 degrees here sometimes in the summer. And places like the Ironworks Trail, for example, it's not a lot of shade. And I think we should be looking at those. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Dinesh next.
Dinesh, yes.
Yeah, when I think about this question, and trying to figure out with teens and seniors, and again, I kind of go back to really going back and trying to figure out, asking the teens and seniors what is it that they want, and then also using our guiding principles like the master plan. But I'm going to start with the teens because I think my family thinks I'm more of a teenager than a senior right now, but I'm probably closer in age to a senior. But for me, I think the teens, again, promoting programs so they can congregate at the park and have a safe environment there. I think what we've stuff with the skate parks that we have, like we have it at Central Park and also up here at Six Pillar Park. I think, I see that being utilized a lot. I think things like that are great. Also looking at basketball courts and seeing, in other areas too, where we could potentially put lights in so folks can play in the evening and congregate there. You look at seniors, I would look at, again, at stuff at shade structures and looking at exercise stations that are conducive for, for seniors, more seating. And those are the types of things. And if you look at like Tiffany, I've seen now after we added the shade structure there, there's a lot more folks that congregate, more seniors I've seen congregate in that area. So those are things that I would promote and support.
Thank you. Do we have Venkata one more shot at him, Christina? Or
He did. We do have him. He's logged in now.
okay, go ahead.
We may have to repeat the question for him because he missed that part.
Okay, Mark.
Yes, sorry about that.
All right, Venkata. My question.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, my question is really kind of to follow on some of the other questions that you've heard, but I want to make it a little more specific in two different areas. So here's the question. What are some park amenities or park features that you think are important for two groups, our teens and our seniors?
Okay, so for teens is essentially we have to concentrate on the different types of the games that they want to play and participate. Like in Central Park, we have these rollerblades, and then anything that actually the teen centric actually. So those are the amenities that we want to improve. For me, the way I go about it is actually collecting the data and then understanding their needs and then improving on that. So the second aspect is for the seniors, it's mostly the building up. Actually, they tend to actually come together and then talk, and then they want to have a good time. So how can we improve those amenities for the seniors? Those are the things that I'll actually focus on.
Thank you.
I think my time is up. Yeah, thank you.
And our last question for you, this tough grilling that we've done, will come from Vice Mayor Sridhar Barros. Sridhar, you have the floor.
Thanks, Mayor Hudson. Hey, hi, everyone. Thank you very much for applying for this position. I agree with my fellow council members that we are very fortunate to have such an excellent candidates for this commission. Also, this is going to be definitely very challenging decision for council tonight. So let's see how this goes at the decision time. Oh, by the way, asking the last question is also pretty challenging, because so you go through all the questions.
Let me get the violin here. Go ahead.
So anyway, my question is, how would you see your role as commissioner when recommending policy and working with the council? Let me repeat once again. How would you see your role as commissioner when recommending policy and working with the council?
Thank you. Christina, who's first?
Terry.
Terry.
Okay. I would see, number one, I think the role of the commissioner is advisory. I think the risk is trying to get too much into staff's business. So we have to make sure that we walk that fine line, that we are not staff, that we're purely advisory, and that we are I think we're the eyes and ears of the community in a lot of ways, and we're here to support the council. We're here to support the council so that they can make better informed decisions based on this kind of narrow aspect of what we're focusing on, which is parks and community services. So I think the more that we come prepared, do our research, and enjoy every inch of this community when it comes to our parks and facilities, the better we're going to be positioned and poised to support the council and not get too much in staff's business.
Thank you. Next.
Ed?
Thank you. I think one of the biggest roles and responsibilities as a commissioner would be to listen very well. I think if you're a good listener, one old timer once told me that a good leader leads well, a great leader listens well. And I think that's part of the commissioner's target per se. So I would certainly go ahead and pledge to do that. I think also another component is to listen to city staff. I mean, the city staff is going to be doing a lot of presentations. They're doing the bulk of the work. Try to get and understand where they're coming from, what they're doing, and try to always support them in one way or another, whether it be recommendations or that sort. And with that, then you can go as a consensus to the city council with an act as one type of approach as we all make the city decision-making process just that much more streamlined. So I think those are two of the biggest elements that I see as a commissioner as well. Another one that's very important as well is to participate as a liaison in some other committee, I think, or council and committee or commission. So I think that's a liaison effort that you help pass on any information to help augment, you hope, the decision-making process.
Thank you. Next.
Dave?
Thank you, Councilmember Burrows. So the first thing is, if you're talking to the city council, make sure you're not violating the Brown Act would be my first thing. But other than that, I mean, look, I think when you make any decision, you need to be a sponge. So we are in an advisory role. We're not like drafting bills or whatnot. That said, you need to talk to the city staff. If you have ideas, bring it to them. I don't think we know more than the city staff, but you are there to just kind of interrogate ideas, suggest things, bring it up. When you hear things from your community, someone calls you up, they have an idea, or they don't like what you're doing, talk to city staff, figure out if there's something that we can implement, bring it up during questions if that issue is being brought up in a commission meeting. I think that is what it all comes down to. Just get as much information as possible, talk to as many people as possible without violating the Brown Act, and just make the decision that you think is best for the community. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next.
Dinesh?
Dinesh.
Yeah, thanks. I almost want to say ditto, but I know that's probably not the best answer. So I'm going to say, a lot of the folks that came in front of me, said a lot of the things that I would have said. You need to listen well, gather information, and advise. I would definitely read the information presented. Kathy and her team do a wonderful job putting all that work together and read the information that's presented to us, look at the data. I'd refer to the general master plan as well as the parks master plan as well as the guiding principles. And I'd listen for public comment and keep an open mind. And then make those advisory recommendations to the council. And then whatever the decision that you council members make, I would respect that decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Mike?
I have to say, Dinesh hit the nail right on the head there with, following the plan and making the best recommendations based on the surveys and, our residents of the community. That's the most important thing. And, not to overstep your boundaries and just to, be honest with the recommendations and following the plan and listening to our residents of the city.
Good. Thank you. Next.
Venkata?
It's a great question, Sridhar. Thanks for asking that. So as we discussed, actually, I think the main purpose is how can we be inclusive? How can we actually make sure we are actually serving all the different age groups? And then the teens, and then the older communities. And so mainly coming up with making sure our facilities and our parks and then our infrastructure and everything is actually helping them. So making sure that nobody is like omitted, or it's like not well served. So making sure getting those decisions, and then like helping listening to the community, and then bringing up the ideas, and then like putting together into making them into the policy. In any advisory role, like listening to the community and following all the guidelines, Brown Act and everything, and then bringing that to the council is is what actually is a commissioner. I think the primary recommendation that's what I actually um, as a commissioner I'm trying to do will try to do rather with the council, work with the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Ravneet.
Ravneet.
All right, technical difficulties. So I think it boils down to 4 things. First, communication. You need to listen, you need to ask questions, and you need to communicate what the Parks Commission and what the City Council is doing. Second, you need to observe. You need to watch what's going on. You need to interact with the community, see what's missing, see what works, see what doesn't work. Third, you need to analyze what you're seeing, what you're hearing. Without that analysis, we're just listening and observing. Last, you need to put it all together and provide a comprehensive advisory opinion to the City Council. Again, the board is an advisory committee. We listen, we observe, we analyze, and then we provide an opinion. It is up for the City Council to actually enact it and to put the policies through. So I think it's a partnership. I think we are an extra pair of eyes and ears. We are an extra brain to look at what's going on, to put it all together, and ultimately to help guide your decision if that's helpful to you. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have Sean or Steve? Who is it?
Steve.
Steve, you're up.
Thank you. Thanks for the question, Vice Mayor Rose. When I thought about this question, I think the biggest thing is trust. And as being part of the Parks Commission, I'd want the council to have trust that we did the work that we needed to do as we recommend the policy for them to vote on. And how we build that trust is one, we talked earlier about staff. I do believe there's a lot of, getting the recommendations and make sure we understand it. Do search and reapply, Council, Vice Mayor Rose, you've been on the Parks Commission. Do we tap experts who've already gone through some of this process to get their input and advice as you go through the process, be more efficient and get more data? And the third thing is, how do we get the community? If it's a policy that's going to affect a certain part of the community, it's going to affect a lot. Make sure we have a good feedback model. And the fourth thing to me is, how does it tie into the master plan? I know I'll probably get that from the council. So how does it tie into where we're headed and where we're headed in the future, so we're able to look around the corner? That's how I would go. And then have the recommendation that's buttoned up.
Thank you.
Thank
Sean?
you.
Yeah, so first for me is understanding that, as Mayor Hudson said, it's a 1.5 year term, right? So we don't have to do it all at once. I need to understand the context and the history before I start firing off ideas. 2 is listen, as a lot of us have said here, understanding and analyzing before I start speaking. And third is engage with peers, with staff, with community, with the master plan, with those resources to help inform my decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we've gone through the grilling, and now we're going to have the last minute. If you have some last words you want to give it, and then I'll open it up to the public. We have at least one caller who has some comments for 1 minute.
Mayor, my recommendation is, do you want to give people a couple of minutes just to stretch, go off camera, and then come back?
Yeah, if you want. I was going to do it afterwards, but that's, let me look around and see. No, I can take a hint. I'll tell you what, before you do your last 1 minute thing, we're going to take 5 minutes to allow you to get ready as your mayor just figure out what was going on. We'll be back in 5. Thanks, Sabina. Oh, I was muted. He's muted. He's unmuted. He's muted. He's unmuted. He's back. We got everybody else. Not quite. I think you also have her. Oh, you brought her back in. Okay.
She's coming in right now.
So the last will be a minute. And you've kind of tipped your hand. The one that's last usually gets stuck first. Cross them up. Beginning to like this format. You know, and rather than just do one asking each one and another, then go back and do it again. And two questions to me, just as we saw, we were bumping into each other with one. If I see. Well, Mark Sridhar's here. Where's Scott? There he is. Still on, kind of muted.
Or wait.
He's in.
There we go.
All right, we're back.
We're just waiting for one candidate.
Okay.
I mean, we can get, he's not first, so we can.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'll be easy enough. That's a hint, guys. Get prepared. She's about ready to call on one of you. The way we finish this up, we'll give you 1 minute, just like you've been answering the questions. Just if there's anything additional you'd like to add. We used to do this thing where you want to ask questions of us, but then the public would see how, well, we won't do that. So what we're asking is if you want to take another minute to tell us something additional that you might think makes a difference, please do. And it'll be in reverse order again. And then I'm going to have public comment. It's open. There are 7 members of the public. You probably have 2 that aren't staff. I do have 1 hand raised already. And I'm stalling to try and let that person come in. Okay, let's go. Who do we have first, Christina?
Dinesh.
Dinesh, take a minute.
All right. Well, thanks again for the opportunity to be able to interview today. I mean, like you mentioned earlier, there's a lot of terrific candidates applying for this position, and you guys have a tough decision. I look at the parks and community to be the heart and soul of our city. The most important contribution I feel I can make as a commission member is a lens and perspective I bring to the table as a long-term resident of San Ramon, my involvement in our community for many years, and as a physician. I love this city. This is a great city, and my focus is to continue to improve the quality of life in our community. I've been involved in many volunteer activities with coaching youth sports for 12 years, PTA in various roles, volunteering in schools, and now serving on the library advisory committee, as well as a board member for the San Ramon Valley Education Foundation. Recently, I just completed the Citizens Planning Academy, and I'm currently enrolled in the San Ramon Valley Leadership Academy. I have a proven track record of being a natural born leader, 20 to 24 years of being a physician. I've been in leadership roles. I'm currently a public employee as a chief medical officer at a large state agency. And so I feel I have a lot of transferable skills and the leadership acumen to be able to contribute as a commission member for the city of San Ramon. And if selected, I'd be honored to serve the community as your Parks and Community Service Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Mike.
Thank you very much. You do have a lot of great candidates, and I feel like this has been a tough challenge for me tonight. Not having served on any other boards or anything like that, I think I bring a different perspective as a contractor, a residential contractor. I've worked with many homeowners over the years, thousands of them, and all different races, ages, and I feel that I do have a different perspective. I love the outdoors, and I feel that I can give an honest advice and follow a plan, and do the best that I can with the extra time that I do have now in my life with my kids being grown up and not retired, but I mean, being in San Ramon now, I probably will retire here and be here the rest of my life. So I want to be a part of the town, and I appreciate your time. Appreciate you having me in today.
Thank you. Next.
Venkata.
Venkata.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity. So I, being actually lived in both old part of the, new part of the San Ramon, like Gale Ranch and Winmere, that area, and then so recently in the older part of San Ramon. So I have seen much of the San Ramon, so that and both pros and cons, and then the better parts of San Ramon. So I would like to bring in my understanding and expertise as an engineer, to see the data and then collect the data, analyze information, and then take a collective approach to and then understand what are the areas that we need to improve, and then give that as a policy advisory as a Parks Commissioner. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Venkata. Who's next?
Ravneet.
I just want to start off by saying that I think I'm the only person on this panel today who's an attorney. As an attorney, I've served as an assistant city attorney. I have served on advisory boards for a Parks Commission. So if you're looking for experience in this line of work, I've got it. It's right here. I've done it. And not only that, it's my passion. I have not applied for other boards. I have not wanted to be on other boards because, like I said in the beginning, parks are my jam. It's what I do. When I volunteer as a coach. I coached 5-year-olds. I coached 12, 13-year-old boys this year. On that field, being out with them, that's where I want to be. I want to be engaged. I want them to be engaged. I want the kids in this city to have the same love of parks that I grew up with. That is in a nutshell why I want to be here. And that's why I think I will bring the experience, I'll bring the passion, and I bring the know-how of how to get things done. Thank you.
Who's next?
Steve.
Thank you, and thanks for all the candidates tonight. This has been great. I started out tonight talking about sense of building community, and that's really why I'm applying, and I feel that it could be a big benefit to the Parks Commission. Is that we're at a really unique time in our city's history where we want to get more of our community out. How do we get more of our community involved? And what I bring to this Parks Commission is the ability to communicate, the ability to look around the corner at some financial acumen as we're trying to deal with budgets. I've did a lot of that through San Ramon Soccer and also through the school site councils. So as I take a look at some of my experiences, I bring that to the board, but also I believe my job will be able to, how do we look at the master plan, follow that, and how do we make recommendations that when the council gets it, they know it's buttoned up, they know it's vetted and they can trust, and they know it's efficient. So I bring that to the Parks Commission and also we'll rely on the staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
John.
Yeah, so again, as someone with a background in recreation management, athletics, physical education, working in the school districts, working in local youth sports, this position is truly one that excites me. I see it as listen, learn, and apply. Listen to those that have knowledge. Everyone in the community needs to be heard. There's something to be gained from everyone. Learn how I can best serve as a civic leader while also recommending policy. And finally, apply with a growth mindset, empathy, and an unbiased vision that relies on both data and those stakeholder input. Again, truly a position that excites me. I keep coming back for it, and I'll be in this. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm guessing Terry.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Christina. I'm going to revisit the themes of inclusion and connectedness. Our parks and programs, by their very nature, do this. More than any other department, commission, committee, Parks and Community Services does this. COVID has forced us into isolation, separation. How are we poised and positioned to bring our community back together? It's parks, it's programs, it's services. Here's what I would bring to the commission. I'm a problem solver. I'm a communicator. It is what I do, it's who I am. And I can articulate my understanding of the issues and my depth and breadth of experience that will add value to this commission. I'm a team player. I get along well with others. I pride myself on my ability to engage the community and solicit feedback. I've been entrenched and engaged in this community for over 30 years, and I've seen firsthand how parks and programs have impacted lives and brought families, friends, and community together. Two of our friends just recently took advantage of the current real estate market and left, and now they're miserable because sometimes you don't realize what you have until you've left it. They now realize what community is. I'm at the point in my life when I finally have the bandwidth to participate at this level, and I would love to be part of the Parks Commission.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Is it Ed or Dave?
Ed.
Well, thank you. And since 1989, being a resident here at San Ramon has been nothing short of just pleasurable. The town, the city here has a plan. And I see here with all the walking plans and the just the general plan and just the enthusiasm to go ahead and get to yes on these programs. I feel that I certainly would like to participate in that from the commissioner role here at the Parks and Community Services. I tell you, it's one thing to go ahead and be heard when you give a recommendation. It's another thing to be received. And I think it comes across with credibility. And certainly my rearing of, especially most recently in the federal arena, is just that, to try to focus with that and display professionalism, mutual respect, and listen and listen and listen. So I thank you for the opportunity to participate.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed. Dave?
Yes, Mayor Hudson. So first I want to thank the city staff, city council, fellow interviewees. I'm fortunate enough to know a few of them. Let me tell you my personal reason why I want to be on the Parks Commission and why I want to get involved. I've been very fortunate in my life. I've lived the American dream. My mom was a McDonald's cashier. My dad was a factory worker. I didn't grow up in a good neighborhood like this. Somehow I was able to become an attorney, buy a house here. This is the community I always dreamed about when I was a kid. And I want my kids to have this. And I want their grandparents to be able to enjoy this community as well. But we need to be thoughtful. Where I'm standing right here was an orchard like 55 years ago. It took a lot of planning to create what we have. You know, things change, but not all change is bad. And that doesn't mean we can't have a vibrant yet idyllic community. And I really, truly want to be a part of that process. And I want to thank you for your time, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you, each and every one of you. This is going to be one tough decision. I think I speak for the entire council. I'm going to ask each one of them for some deliberation in a minute, but first we're going to open it up for some attendees. If there's anyone from the public who wants to comment, please take a minute. That's all we've been giving you guys is 1 minute. So I have one hand up for call-in user one. If anyone else wants to speak, please take 1 minute and give us your 2 cents or 1 minute. Are you coming in?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so when considering the appointment, I would urge the council to please pick a personality that is not afraid to question the staff. I feel of all the meetings I've been to, this particular meeting has staff that are most liberal, and they are very set on their beliefs. And I would like someone who is the opposite, more conservative, more family oriented, more safety oriented, and not so much, integration, connectivity, contractor oriented kind of person to be appointed. I think our teenagers need to have some organization for them to get together to do the hiking and all that. It takes planning. It's not just giving them some structure and tell them to go. When I was growing up at my teenage years, I was working a lot. I don't know why these days our teenagers don't work. they're still out and about, like playing on structures or looking for something to do. To me, that's very strange. If there is anything we can help, our teenagers to start engaging in internships or whatever, even through our community services, I would like to see that. Or maybe having a group Saturday, picking up the trash, that kind of thing, especially around high schools. They're most filthy and littered areas in our city. And, so to help the teenagers know that if you, don't take care of our communities, then, our communities cannot be the way they are when it's your turn to be parents and you have children. So I think we should instill that, generational, taking care of each other kind of mentality in this particular department. And I would like to see people who, have that, generational gapping ability and not afraid to, address a concern or ask questions.
Caller, I'm going to have to cut you off there. We were going to do 1 minute, we're past 2. But thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? I think I only have 2 other members of the public. Seeing no hands raised, we'll close the public comment. The matter is before the council. I'll start it off. Christina, you're going to say something?
I was going to say, I'm going to go ahead and move the candidates back to the attendees, so part of the audience, so they'll still be able to hear, but let the council deliberate.
Okay, and I'll start it off by talking so I can see their faces also. If every member of the Parks Commission left tomorrow, I wouldn't have a problem appointing 6 or 7 people tonight. You guys gave a fantastic interview. I'm impressed with each and every one of you. I'm not exactly sure now what I'm going to base a lot of this on when I get down to, are you really telling me we only get to do 1 person? Well, I just want you all to know that I wanted to do 6, but it's the rest of them that messed it up. I think probably each one of us should make some comments and then go back through and see if anybody had one particular one. I am not kidding. When I could pick 6 or 7, I probably would have no problem picking 3, and they could sit in that seat and either match or improve who was there before. And I thought highly of them. So I think we've got I think we got it cut out tonight. Anybody want to jump in there first, Mark?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Sure. Well, first I'll say, thanks to everybody. This has not been an easy process. The quality of the candidates has been spectacular. They're very impressive resumes, great credentials. This is really going to be tough for us to make a decision tonight. I think, as you were saying, all these candidates could easily step in right now and serve as a commissioner. And we've got a mix of familiar candidates for the commission and several very qualified new ones. And I think everybody provided very thoughtful responses. They demonstrated kind of a knowledge of the needs of our community and an understanding of the role of the commission. So I think our challenge is that we can only pick one, right? As you said. But even if not selected, I would just encourage all of our candidates to continue to stay involved and look for additional opportunities to serve. Very impressive group tonight. I think a couple do come to mind if you want to start getting into names now.
I would rather if we can, because this is that tough. I mean, Mark, I go back to when we picked you. I thought that was tough. I mean, that was no easy thing, but let's kind of hear from anybody of what they think. And then if it can, I will come back to you first for the 2.
Well, I'll talk about it. Oh, you want to hear everybody else first, you said?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And that way you do also. Scott, you raising your hand or you're just warming yourself?
Dave, you and I have been doing this a long time, and we've done it a couple of different ways. And this format, I think works pretty good when we have a large group.
Yes.
If the group is smaller, then we have an opportunity to do it a little different. But when we have this large an applicant pool, this format I think works reasonably well, and it's time efficient as well. And yes, we've seen a number of these people a number of times, most of them have been very engaged in the community, whether it's through Little League or, soccer or, other youth groups and or they're already part of a committee. One of our, the arts committee or the senior advisory committee or the EDAC, Economic Development Advisory Committee. A number of these people are already engaged, and I appreciate the fact that they've been engaged for a while and now they want to step up another level. And that's kind of how it happens in this city in large measure. I mean, it doesn't always happen that way, but in large measure, that's one of the ways it happens. So I appreciate the fact these people are engaged in these more focused committees, and they're participating and getting involved in the city. And that's a real important part of this program.
Yes.
So that's I just want to thank them all. You're right, Dave. We could pick 6 new commissioners right now.
I'll leave it up to Sabina or Sridhar. Do you want me to chime in with one little thing? Go ahead, Sabina.
I was going to say it's becoming harder to apply for commission than run for council or mayor in this town. Like, there's more people, and I don't know. Do we need to set term limits for our commissions?
No.
Do we need to expand the commission? I mean, I'm honestly, I would hate to lose, these people because they're waiting for years to get on our commission and really motivated to serve our community. So we might have to brainstorm. I just want to say again, I've been really impressed by the diversity of perspectives that I heard tonight. What the experiences that a lot of these candidates are bringing really by serving in the community, and whether they're long-term residents of San Ramon and bringing that experience, have moved back to San Ramon or have, recently moved to the city. We've all said this. And so it's going to be a tough decision. I think part of, how I'm going to decide is what do we have on the Parks Commission now in terms of experience and perspective, and who from our pool today can bring in a new and a different perspective to that commission to add to an already amazing commission we have. So those are kind of my thoughts. I would say everybody's got something unique they're bringing to this. And like you said, I would love to put them all on a commission and have a 10, 12 person commission. How about that?
Well, let me correct myself. First of all, we are not suppressing ideas tonight. And the one you just advanced, I would say, okay, let's take another look at it. 1, at the retreat, and 2, after we know what the districting is going to do. Not that it won't get discarded or whatever, but it is an idea that was brought forward. Right now, I don't want to get away from, I'm ducking the decisions we have to make. And then Sridhar gets this easy question because he was on the Parks Commission before. Sridhar.
Oh, man, that's excellent applicants. It's definitely, as a former Parks and Community Services Commissioner, I'm proud that I served commission where the applicants are coming up with such excellent talent, especially in this today. Pretty much all of them have community education, except a few. They are like either in Government 101 or Leadership San Ramon Valley or any other, some other community education that they already have. And also they are involved in the committees and then in the community programs, one or other way. So it's amazing to see all of them on this panel, interview panel. And also I'm very glad to know that they are very knowledgeable about our master plan and our parks and programs. They're very clear about understanding about our roles of commissioner, about their advisory role and all that. This is definitely a very challenging interview and tough decision for us. So, but as Scott mentioned, we have to pick only one person. The ratio is 1:9. So let's see who's going to be that one.
Well, let me add just 2 cents, and then Mark, I'll let you kick it off because you were going to. Throughout these interviews, I was reminded of this YouTube Kids Have Talent that I absolutely love to watch because it knocks me out every time I see how talented people are. This young lady opened her mouth and the judges were They couldn't believe what they were hearing. I thought she was tremendous. The first part of what I thought was a trio, because together they worked really well. And that's kind of what I was seeing tonight with three people, actually with about 6 or 7, but 3 people in particular. The second young lady opened her mouth. I said, she's got the best voice I've ever heard out of a 10-year-old if she was 10. And then the guy sang, and I thought, my goodness, nobody's going to be able to pick who wins this. And every single one of them got a vote until it came down to the end. And I could give you a reason why each one did or didn't get it. And they were fantastic about who eventually did win it. I thought they were a trio. It was a competition. But certain people show that they can really work together. And so I put it down to 2 or 3 people, as I think everybody, because you have to put it down to 2 or 3 people have. And somehow I think that it's going to be where I might end up being the deciding vote. But so be it. Mark, you started us off. If you want to jump in there right away.
Yeah, sure. Sure. I like we said, this is going to be tough. I first want to talk about Steve Breed, because I really like the thoughtfulness of his responses. He's been involved in the Planning Academy, the Citizens Police Academy, Leadership San Ramon Valley. He has demonstrated leadership in some of the different sports groups, as a coach, as a president of a group, an umpire with Scouts. Even in his resume, I like the 7 reasons that he stated why he wanted to be on the commission. And frankly, I do think that he brings some strategic thinking and some vision that we could use on the Parks Commission. And quite frankly, I think his determination is impressive, as is the determination of many of the candidates that we heard from this evening. So, and then the other one I want to highlight is Terry Caney. I think, as he mentioned in his closing, he's a problem solver. He's a communicator. I think he's one of those consummate public servants and volunteers. Just his involvement with different education groups and foundations and CERT, his understanding of kind of that relationship between our schools and our parks. He's been involved in so many different things with Leadership San Ramon Valley, PTA, his accolades as an employee of the year with Rotary, EDAC, other involvement in city community activities. So those are the 2 that stood out as highlights for me this evening. Although, as I said, all were very impressive. Any one of these candidates could certainly serve as a commissioner. This is a tough choice, but that's where I stand at this point.
You want to hear everybody chime in for 2 or 3 people before we cut it down? I'm seeing nods. Okay, Scott, you went, then Sabina.
Yeah, the 2 Mark mentioned clearly float to the top for me as well. Steve has been with Little League, basketball, umpiring. Umpiring is a really tough job, and it's definitely not getting easier. And with Scouts, Troop 1776, he's applied a number of times, and he seems to do really well and come in second. Or come in just below the cut line, but he's done a fantastic job. Terry Caney has been so involved in the community. Ed Foundation, Rotary, Chamber, Leadership San Ramon Valley. Gosh, it just goes on and on and on, and traffics and CERT. And his relationship with the schools, he knows that relation. I mean, he happened to establish so much of the goodwill that occurs between the city and the schools. The other one that I really impressed with, and this partly comes from my time sitting with the Arts Committee, and that's Dave Owens. He's chair of our Arts Committee, and he's been to the Planning Academy, and he's been to Government 101. And so he's paid his dues, and he answers the questions. He really had some great answers, not just to my question, but some of the others as well. And so Dave Owens was the other one that I was really impressed with tonight.
Sabina. You want to chime in or should we stick it on Sridhar?
Yeah, I'll chime in. Yeah, again, I said everybody is such a stellar candidate tonight that we're going to have to even pick those 2, 3. It's going to be a hard decision. For me, I also have the advantage of serving with Dave on the Arts Committee and the Arts Foundation. And what's impressed me about Dave is that he takes things and he's now running essentially the Foreign Film Festival for the Arts Foundation. So he's really come in and executed. And part of it is he's bringing a perspective, which he does not have kids yet, but he's aspiring to have kids. He's thinking of building something for the future of this city. And his perspective as somebody who is also, I would say, new to the city, has lived here for a few years now, but also brings a perspective which is unique to our middle-aged, if you will, young adults here in San Ramon. And how do we represent that demographic as well? So for me, Dave is, certainly somebody I think would be a great candidate. I've just seen him kind of execute. So for me, that's important. I really liked some of the things that Sean talked about, actually. Again, he talked about things that differentiated him from most of the candidates as well, in terms of being a teacher, in terms of talking about how young people might be using up parks and bringing that perspective. And I think we need that perspective on our commission. Steve, again, brings experience from using up parks significantly. He's, with the FC and everything that he's doing, he understands, some of the user groups and how that connects back into our parks and how to solve for that. And then Ranveet, I think, has phenomenal experience having lived in San Ramon and then gone out of San Ramon and served in Georgia, and bringing that experience back to San Ramon and being a coach as well. So I think those 4 were the ones that I thought could bring some great perspective as our commissioners. And so, yeah, I don't have top 2 yet, but I have 4.
So you want 6 or 7 too? Okay, Sridhar.
Oh, I'm very glad that all the names that I got shortlisted, like I keep doing this shortlist like multiple times. Pretty much everybody is like in 0.2, 0.3, maybe that's how at last I could get to the list of, if I had to give only 4, that's the list that already mentioned in this call. So I'm very glad that my thought process is pretty close to our council members' thought process. So definitely Dave, I don't want to once again detail through all their credentials in this call, but yeah, Dave is definitely going to bring a lot of fresh thought process, I think. So he's in my list. And then Steve Brett, yeah, once again, I don't want to repeat all his credentials with his experience and all that. So he's definitely one of in my list. And Sean, once again, because of his, we definitely need a teacher, especially when I see as a part of the commission, it is very important that we need to have a voice from educational, someone from educational background. So that will help big time, bringing more diverse sports within the school education programs. So that's why Sean is also one of in my list. And oh boy, the toughest is definitely Ravneet. We need to bring Ravneet also into this board. So these are the 4 names which I'm glad that they are overlapping with your names. So
Okay, I couldn't argue with any of them there. The 3 and why I drew that analogy is it absolutely shocked me at the end of the song with everybody standing. We then found out that none of them spoke English. But what it told me is they really could work together. 3 people just knocked me out tonight. Terry, I've known forever. I mean, if I had my choice, I'd have another seat on parks and planning. He reminds me a lot of what Jim Livingstone brought to this city. And we did that one time when we were short one person on the council. We pulled him up from planning with the idea that when the election was over, he'd go back, and it worked out fine. We did the same thing with Ken Mintz. We brought him over from park. We found out these are people that could step right in and do it. And 3 people just, besides the people you told me, these 3 really caught my attention, and I could vote for any one of them tonight. And one of them hasn't been mentioned, and I was shocked at his answers because I think he's ahead of the time, so people haven't caught it. Terry and Steve is probably going to come down to what my vote is, who's making a motion, who's doing it. But Ed Carranza, if you're listening, man, are you ahead of the times? What you're talking about with this bike path, and it's not because he's an engineer, Scott, but in reality, what he's talking about with the bike paths and the answers that he gave were just, this is somebody that understands where we're going. Okay, we've already chipped in. Who wants to jump out there and make a 1? Who's going to make a selection?
I'll say Dave.
Okay, we got 1 for Dave. Anyone else?
I go for Dave.
You got 2 for Dave. Scott?
I was going to recommend Steve. Steve is the name that is, all 5 of us have mentioned Steve in particular.
Okay. Mark, you want to be the decider, or you want me to do it?
It must come down to you, Dave, because my choice last time was Steve, and I'm going to go again with Steve.
For exactly the same reasons that you mentioned, that he took the persistency and his answers to me, I put little stars next to him, and I think he had 3 out of the 5 questions where he was right there. I mean, I've known Terry like the rest of you forever and a day, and I could have done it. I can see, and we've been talking about how the people could come up, but any one of the 3 people I told you could go to the first meeting and you would forget who Dave Roberts is, in my opinion. And that's what brought them up above everyone else. So I will vote for Steve, and I'll leave it at that. And for the first time, it's not Sabina and I on the outside, it's Sabina and Sridhar, but do I have a motion?
I'll move that we appoint Steve Breed to the Parks Commission for a term to expire in, I believe it's June of 2023.
It is 2023. I had a second, Zafar. And any further discussion before we take a roll call vote? Seeing none. Christina?
Councilmember Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins,
Yes.
Councilmember Zafar,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Veros,
Yes.
and Mayor Hudson.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I do have a comment. I don't think any of us were telling anything out of school on what we said. You did some fantastic answers tonight. And I know we had one park commissioner on here. I would go back to the other park commissioner and say, start studying. And while I'm at it, probably talk to the planning commission too, because I was listening to Terry tonight and I'm going, if you don't get on this thing, you'll apply for planning, because he was catching on to a lot of stuff. And again, there were others in your discussions, that maybe it isn't just the parks, but I have no problem with people coming back again. It's going to be a tough decision with some people that are on parks versus these people coming back and applying. This is a stellar bunch. Any other comments?
I'm thrilled. I wish we could do more, but all you gotta do is just find somebody else to resign, and we'll appoint somebody else.
Sabina.
Congratulations to Steve.
Yes. Great job, Steve.
Well done to all of them.
But I did want to take one step further, Sabina, on a question that you asked. I think the next time when the commissioners come up, that part of our staff report is who's on the commission and where they're at, because districts are going to become more important when we do these selections. If they're important for the council, they're important for the commissions. It's just fact of life, in my opinion. And if somebody sees it different, so be it. But I would ask that when we do the commission interviews in particular, that part of it is, and we used to have that page in it anyway, of where they are and who they are. Everybody nodding, I see it. Outside of that, if we don't have any further comments or questions or anything, thank you all. I know this was not the easiest one that we have done in a while, but I thank you all, and we are adjourned till that meeting tomorrow night. Maybe we can do another one at 5 o'clock.